Hi everyone, I'm Aurel Ogorian with ACAP Advisors and Accountants, and welcome to another episode of the ACAP Recap, where we go behind the blog and answer some of your questions on taxes and investing. But before we begin, remember to subscribe, like, and share our videos on social media. In today's episode, we're going to talk about spin-offs, split-ups, split-ups, and carve-outs. And if you've never heard of these terms before, you're going to hear them more often as companies like Amazon and Google and Facebook become larger and more powerful. There's going to be a greater pressure of these companies to start implementing one of these corporate strategies. So stay tuned and we'll go dive right into it. Okay, what is a corporate spin-off? A corporate spin-off is when a new company is created from the subsidiary of an existing company or an existing parent company. It's also known as a divestiture. So for example, the most prominent one that occurred is when eBay spun off their PayPal division or their PayPal subsidiary in 2015. So eBay was a parent company and PayPal was the subsidiary which was spun off or divested. In that situation, every eBay shareholder received one share of PayPal for every share of eBay that they had. So if they had 2 shares of eBay, they received 2 shares of PayPal. So why would eBay do this? eBay recognized that the growth of PayPal as a standalone company was a lot greater than if it was still part of PayPal as eBay as a parent company. So as a result, PayPal has thrived ever since then. Another high-profile spinoff occurred in 1997 when Pepsi spun off Yum Brands. And if you've never heard of Yum Brands owns KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell. So as you can see, PepsiCo identified at that time that these 3 companies had a much higher growth rate on their own and could thrive better than if they were to be under the umbrella of Pepsi parent company. In a spin-off, existing shareholders actually don't give up or exchange any of their shares. They simply get new shares of the new spun-off company. And to make things even better, this is a non-taxable event. So if you're a shareholder of one of these companies that gets spun off, there's no tax consequence for getting shares of this new company. However, it does change your basis. And if you look at our article that we did on this, you'll notice that we go in depth on how to calculate your cost basis if you have a spin-off. Okay, so we just talked about a corporate spin-off, but what is a corporate split-off? A corporate split-off is when a new company is created from the parent, same like a corporate spin-off. However, the existing shareholders have to exchange their shares for the new company shares. So unlike in a spin-off where they're given the shares, in a split-off, they have to exchange their existing shares for the new company shares. A very prominent one that occurred in 2015 was when General Electric split off Synchrony Financial. In that situation, GE shareholders had the option of exchanging some of their GE shares for the new company, Synchrony Financial. Don't automatically assume that a spin-off is better than a split-off because you're not exchanging something for a new company. In a spin-off, essentially what happens is the market value of the parent company declines by the market value of this new company that's created. So for example, we used eBay as an example of a spin-off. And let's assume eBay was worth $400 million before the spin-off of PayPal. And the value of PayPal was $100 million. Before the spin-off, it would be $400 million. After the spin-off, right afterwards, the value of eBay would be $300 million. And now you have shares of PayPal that's worth $100 million. So your total value doesn't change. And same example would be with a split-off. So don't assume that a spin-off is better because you're not exchanging anything. You're essentially you're taking out that portion of the company, and now you have 2 companies, but they're in sum still worth the same amount, but with the hope of one of them growing at a much faster rate than the original parent company. All right, we talked about a spin-off, we talked about a split-off, and now we're going to talk about a split-up. In the first 2 instances, the shareholder either was given new shares of a company or they had to exchange shares of a new company. But in a split-up, the parent company is no longer in existence. A good example is in 2018, United Technologies split up their 3 divisions and they became United Technologies, Otis Elevator, and Carrier. Sometimes the government steps in and forces companies to split up. A prominent example of this was in 1984 when the Justice Department forced AT&T to split up into 8 different companies because they deemed it a monopoly and that it had too much power. More recently, there's a growing amount of pressure among politicians and the general public that companies like Amazon, Google, Facebook, most tech companies have too much power over our personal data, so there might be some pressure on those companies to actually split up as well. But we should see how that story unfolds. The last corporate action is a carve-out. A carve-out is when a parent company creates a whole new company, issues IPO instead of issuing shares of this existing company or exchanging shares. Now, they primarily do this to raise cash. A very popular one that occurred in 2009 was when Las Vegas Sands did a carve-out of their Sands China. And as a result, they were able to raise $3 billion. Now, why do companies do a carve-out? Well, according to Deloitte Consulting, 64% of companies do a carve-out because they need the cash. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the ACAP Recap. If there's a video or a topic that you want us to cover, please mention it in the comment below, and we'll be sure to cover it either in an article or another video. In the meantime, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and also like and share our videos on social media.